Most people tend to believe the school way. Study hard, have a good grade, and you will find a good, prestigious, and at the same time well-paid job. This cycle has been beaten into our heads since we were children, presented as the surefire way to prosperity and security. This means the hard truth is that this formula, although successful for just that small fraction, fails to deliver the majority anywhere near a place that equates to the wealth and freedom they have been led to believe that the system would deliver. As matters now stand, 99.6% never find their way to substantial wealth or true financial freedom and have to wonder where they are going wrong. This gap between expectation and reality reveals an insidious trap the education system itself, along with societal conditioning, might be the very reason why most people will never reach their financial dreams. From our earliest days, society places enormous value on formal education, not merely as a method of learning, but as an all-encompassing blueprint for how to lead our lives. The school system is very good at churning out compliant workers, but teaches us a lot less about wealth creation, financial literacy, or independent thinking. It teaches you to memorize facts, parrot things back, and then internalize rigid structures, making excellent employees but woefully underprepared for the world of entrepreneurship, investment, and self-made wealth. In a one-size-fits-all process, schools train us all in suppression of individual ambition and often discouraging curiosity for the sake of providing a standardized curriculum. As students, we are graded upon our capacity to conform to what others do, to memorize, and then to recite rather than on our creative potential. Pure wealth doesn't come from doing everything everyone else does. Real wealth is built on the back of risk-taking and innovation, with often going against the grain as a means of creating. Yet these principles are rarely taught in school, but rather on the myth that by following rules and excelling in the traditional, predetermined path, we will eventually reap wealth and fulfillment. How many times do we ever stop to ask, who designed this path and for what purpose? At its core, the education system was designed during the Industrial Revolution to produce workers, people who would reliably fill factories and offices, do as told, and keep the economic machine running. It was not intended to produce rich people. It was designed to create compliant ones. This model puts discipline, promptness, and hierarchy above creativity, problem solving, and adaptability. As a consequence, by the time we have finished our education, most of us are well conditioned to put job security over financial independence and become risk-averse and fearful of questioning the status quo. It's little wonder, then, that the richest of society share one thing. They deviated from that traditional route early. For many of them, they either dropped from formal education or soon realized their goals required knowledge and experiences which conventional schooling could never provide. Richness, after all, demands a degree of financial intelligence and strategic thinking that very rarely, if ever, appears in the traditional classroom. One of the biggest traps lies in debt. In most developed nations, young adults are encouraged to take on thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans to fund their education. This debt is justified with the promise of better-paying jobs post-graduation. But in a rapidly changing economy, this guarantee is more an illusion than fact. Outcome. For most, it means a lifetime of repaying debt. Most likely, they will begin repaying their student loans in their early 20s and continue to be debt-ridden through their 40s or 50s. Rather than set on a path to success, our educational system set lifelong financial burdens on our shoulders, bound us down from fully investing, taking risks, or even saving enough for the future. They discover, however, that it is those who can avoid the pitfalls who accomplish this by recognizing early on that there's a very different mindset required for creating wealth. They realize that whereas knowledge is power, the kind of knowledge, the correct sort of knowledge in respect of money, investments, and market trends is far more valuable than all that traditional academics can acquire. These people know that to get rich is not done on safe, well-trodden paths, but rather on paths of inquiry, calculated risk-taking, and self-education. Our concept of success in society is sick. We believe that good grades equal intelligence, a high-paying job equals security, and retirement equals freedom. But in fact, these are only milestones on a path designed to keep us dependent on institutions and schools banks, and corporations, these institutions profit from our obedience. Real financial freedom requires freeing ourselves from such dependencies. It requires learning how money works, how investments grow, and how to make decisions that favor long-term wealth over short-term security. Let's try to discuss, say, financial education, and what's the first reaction? Lukewarm at best. Schools insist on saving, but educate pupils on neither compound interest nor investment or wealth diversification. We are taught how to budget, but not how to build assets or generate passive income. This gap in financial education is not an accident. It is a byproduct of a system that wants to keep most people in financial dependence. Financial dependence ensures a stable supply of workers, consumers, and debtors, all of whom keep the economic wheels turning. These people, being incapable of generating their own wealth, rely on jobs, banks, and government systems for security. This dependency makes most people spend the majority working for the wealth of other people, be it the companies where they work or the banks where they pay interest on their loans and mortgages. People go on in cycles of earning and spending, always chasing stability, yet hardly ever achieving complete freedom. Social and psychological consequences also make the design of the education system an added burden to acquire wealth. The reason is that giving up on skill sets like critical thinking for the sake of conformity is not easy for skill sets like creativity and risk-taking, the skills of a wealth creator. Here, mistakes are taught to be failures in school rather than learning opportunities. We are penalized for coloring outside the lines, told to stay in our lane, and encouraged to keep our heads down rather than stand out. This aversion to risk stays with us into adulthood, making us more likely to stick to safe, predictable paths and less likely to pursue ventures that could lead to financial independence. The end result is a culture in which most people operate within a narrow band of possibilities, believing that financial success means little more than climbing the corporate ladder, working for a paycheck, and possibly saving enough to retire comfortably someday. That is not, however, the way that real wealth is built. Those who become rich do so by taking risks, exploring new ideas, and refusing to accept the limitations imposed by a conventional education. They know that money is a way of thinking, a questioning of established thought, and sometimes an entry into the unknown. Take, for example, the latest crop of money bags. Entrepreneurs, investors, and self-made millionaires. Many share this characteristic. They did not rely on school education alone to get where they are. They found mentors, read so much more outside the classroom, experimented with business ideas, and most importantly, took financial risks. These are not what they teach in school. They are the lessons learned through experience, through perseverance, and through falling. So why don't schools teach us about wealth building? Why don't they arm students with financial literacy skills, entrepreneurial mindsets, or investment knowledge? It could lie in the fact that if mankind were financially independent, the long-established traditional economic structure, where companies need employees and banks need borrowers, would start crumbling. Schools, inadvertently or intentionally, keep the majority conditioned to seek security in jobs rather than freedom through ownership and investments. To many, breaking free from this cycle often starts with unlearning much of what they were taught in school. They come to realize that wealth is less about income and more about assets, things like stocks, real estate, businesses, and intellectual property that earn income without demanding constant time and labor. They know that financial liberty does not come from a great pay, but from passive income. Money works for them, and they are not working for money. The few in this category included those who learned beyond class. To be rich, they knew that they must learn the art of negotiating, investment analysis, or market understanding, and leading. They sought knowledge that wasn't part of any typical curriculum. In other words, things like how to read financial statements, evaluate a business idea, or how to use debt as an investment tool rather than a consumption tool. Such knowledge altered how they felt they had to think about money, time, and opportunity. What if those were lessons in schools? This will come through only when the younger minds are instilled with thinking wisely for their financial future. Their training in subjects like entrepreneurship, accumulation of assets, and managing the wealth that could eventually help the dependent get independent will certainly ensure such an eventual rise of society. But since these subjects are rarely spoken of, Those who are resolute in amassing riches go through the process lonely, paying sometimes dearly for the mistakes that they make. The third layer of the trap is isolation in building wealth. Without education and guidance, the majority of those who do try to build wealth get mired down by a dearth of resources, mentors, and financial acumen. They risk becoming victims of a Ponzi scheme or investing blindly. In an environment that discourages personal empowerment and wealth creation, it is left to those who wish to break free to learn largely by trial and error, which is expensive as well as demotivating. For those who do succeed, however, the rewards are life-changing. Financial independence brings not only material comfort, but also freedom to pursue passions, spend time with loved ones, and make choices not based on financial necessity, but on personal values and dreams. That's a life many dream of, but few attain, largely because they stay tethered to the limiting beliefs and conditioned behaviors installed by a traditional education. Breaking free from the education trap requires more than an intention to get rich. It demands a change of mindset. It calls for embracing discomfort and moving out of set norms. Sometimes, this makes one appear critical or skeptical to others. This demands asking a well-entrenched notion that security exists in employment and the fact that most of the time, security finds habitat in ownership, investments, and self-sufficiency. Ultimately, it's a journey of self-education and personal growth to know how to think like an investor and not like a consumer, where challenges are seen as opportunities rather than jams in your door, building resilience against all possible setbacks. The wealthy learn that failure is not the end, but the lesson taken to get closer to success. The education system will never be able to prepare us fully for wealth building, but individual people can break free from its limits by taking responsibility for their own financial education. Such a journey is challenging, but it is also liberating. By recognizing the limitations of traditional schooling and seeking out knowledge, skills, and opportunities that really lead to wealth, anybody can start carving a path toward financial freedom. Finally, the question is not whether wealth is attainable, but whether we are willing to unlearn the misconceptions keeping us from it. The education trap holds many back, but it is beyond measure to those who rise above it. The journey toward wealth is a transformational experience for one who elects to break loose from the limitations that traditional schooling places on them. Now, one's worldview changes, from one where they are an interested party similarly shackled by an expected direction, to one of infinite scope of open possibilities, waiting in their grasp. Such transformation is so radical because it involves unlearning habits, beliefs, and attitudes that most would have been inculcated through years of formal school and social schooling. This is actually to first know that people need to take responsibility for their financial education after breaking out of the education trap. It does not come from memorizing formulas or passing exams. It comes from becoming immersed in real-life principles of money management, investment strategies, entrepreneurship, and market trends. It is time spent grasping the concepts of compound interest, risk management, and asset allocation, all outside the classroom, but critical to financial success. Among the greatest barriers to wealth is seeking comfort and denying risk. Traditional education has more often led people to stable jobs and sticking with them because security is attained through loyalty and predictability. This kind of mentality places most people in a straitjacket of limited probabilities. They get frightened to step outside, to try something that may not work, and to confront the unknown. The people who become rich know that the true security is not about risking nothing at all, but managing risks. It embraces uncertainty because calculated risk is correlated with phenomenal pay. For a nation, they trade the feeling of security for the possibility of getting freedom. Financial freedom doesn't involve getting money. It is regarding being in a position where making choice based on what matters can happen, not on how not to lack any requirements one need for survival. Such ability can be traveling, following on other interesting passions, or just going more time with loved family. It could be to contribute back to communities, putting something into causes they genuinely care for, or building something that makes a difference in people's lives. This is the kind of freedom that traditional employment rarely gives. Most jobs demand time and energy in exchange for a paycheck, leaving little room for personal fulfillment. The education trap keeps people in a cycle of trading time for money. Even high-paying jobs demand persistence and commitment, sometimes requiring more hours and more sacrifice. The rich know that freedom from the time-for-money trade is freedom itself. Prosperous people learn how to create assets that could eventually bring in money without having to labor directly for every dollar earned. This may come in the form of stocks, rental property, businesses, or even an intellectual property of anything that continues to rise in value or produce income over time. Passive income is something not learned at school, but it does form part of financial freedom where people get to disassociate work hours from income generation. Earning financial independence also employs a heightened sense of discipline and delayed gratification. The education trap encourages instant payoffs, good grades for studying, praise for following instructions, and paychecks for work done. Building wealth, however, requires a mindset shift toward long-term rewards, often resisted through less spending on instant gratification in favor of investing in growing assets. That means foregoing short-term comfort for long-term payoffs. In other words, it's the paychecks versus making money paying high wages for bringing home check payments. For those who rise above the education trap, another crucial lesson may be the importance of networking and relationships. In school, we learn to individualize and work hard alone in order to achieve success. We learn to compete with others. However, in the world of wealth building, relationships are the guiding light. Wealthy people understand the virtue of being around like-minded people, mentors, and collaborators who can give you insights, open doors for you, and provide support when one is spinning around. They learn that success is hardly ever a solitary event. Often, it is the fruit of joint endeavor, learning experience with others, and growing relations in a network of associates who can provide guidance, feedback, and opportunity. These are not lessons in books, yet are the essential ingredient for hoping to achieve success lasting in the long run. Last but definitely not the last, coming out of the education trap has serious implications for the definition of failure. Traditional education views failure as the devil. It is considered a bad notch or a step back and is to be avoided at all costs. Failure, however, in the game of building wealth, is the best teacher. Every wrong investment, business venture, and financial misstep carries lessons that refine skills and deepen understanding. Failure will only come to serve as a stepping stone and not an endpoint in the eyes of those seeking to acquire and build wealth. They embrace it, learn from it, and proceed stronger and better prepared. The more significant move is the inner shift from which greater success comes for resilience and for the willingness to take risks that others avoid. In fact, education trap can be regarded as some form of mental conditioning, keeping people within comfortable, predictable boundaries. Still, but again, for those willing to exercise these options, challenge such boundaries, question the status quo, or assume control of their financial futures, the returns have proven to be life-changing. It's not about the money. This is about unshackling the freedom to enjoy a life on your own terms. It's actually about the realization that wealth is not just money, but also an opportunity to make choices without constraint, a chance to do something passionate and leave a legacy that surpasses oneself. For most, it would seem such a far-fetched dream for only a few, because this is what the current standardized education and societal norms preach. In reality, anyone can emancipate himself from this vicious cycle if he is willing to unlearn the myths they have been taught, seek other knowledge, and take bold steps towards independence. The journey is by no means an easy one. It takes a lot of courage, discipline, and resilience. But for those who make it, the destination gives them a level of freedom, fulfillment, and purpose way beyond the security of a paycheck or the comfort of following in well-worn paths. In the final analysis, the question is no longer why 99.6% of people will never be rich. It is why so many more stay in a system designed to keep them from reaching their potential. And the answer lies in the education trap, a system that conditions individuals to seek comfort over freedom, predictability over growth, and employment over ownership. But for those who dare to step out of this trap, embracing the uncertainty and challenges of wealth building, lies a world of opportunity, a life of freedom, and the chance to build something meaningful, lasting, and uniquely their own. This new world of opportunity redefines what it means to be successful. Success becomes less about external validation in the form of good grades, job titles, or a steady paycheck, and more about a reflection of visions, acting on their own terms, and creating something that adds value to society. The transcendence of the education trap shows people that money is a byproduct of value. They are working on value creation that people will want to pay for, be it new products and services that disrupt the ordinary, innovative services that impact lives, or unique expertise that's in short supply. This way of wealth building pushes people to become entrepreneurial, where challenges are opportunities and setbacks are rites of passage to growth. While traditional education tends to define success in fairly narrow terms, the entrepreneurial mind extends beyond these constrictive definitions to embrace personal fulfillment and impact, as well as the opportunity for the enjoyment of life free from financial fears. Entrepreneurship is not the formation of new businesses. It is an attitude that accepts one's sense of personal independence, flexibility, and being more in control of one's life. It tends to prepare the skills for living only, but also for thriving outside any conventional system. For those who embrace this path, another powerful tool will become apparent leverage. Leverage refers to using resources, money, time, skills, relationships to multiply outcomes. The wealthy understand the power of leverage and use it to acquire exponential results. They leverage capital by investing in assets that grow over time. They leverage knowledge by continually learning and applying new information. They leverage relationships by ensuring that people surround them who support or share their vision. And, of course, they leverage time itself by doing the right things for the right outcomes rather than seeking immediate payback. In other words, education traps make folks believe that the only effort and hard work are required. While effort is important, those who amass wealth understand that working harder will not get them wealthy. It is the working smarter and leveraging resources and systems that truly make a difference. They realize that only one person can work so many hours in a day, but by leveraging resources and systems, they can generate income and value even when they are not actively working. Passive income that keeps coming in without requiring continuous, active effort perhaps stands as one of the most vivid examples of leverage. Those who have managed to become wealthy are usually doing so either by producing or acquiring assets whose income-generating abilities are either stocks, real estate, intellectual property, or businesses that enables them easily to gain financial independence since they are no longer solely dependent on their daily efforts for income. In this way, they free themselves from trading hours for dollars, the only model the education trap offers to stability. This liberation over the selling of hours in exchange for dollars is revolutionary to many. Classic schooling teaches people how to acquire a steady paycheck, creating psychological dependency upon regular income and discouraging the kind of risk-taking that brings on wealth without labor. However, for those in the know and who use leverage, time is a resource that should be used to make investments that deliver returns far into the future. This is not just about building financial capital. It's about designing the life that they want according to their values, passions, and aspirations. A new life requires another critical shift, from increasing knowledge to personal growth. In school, most of the emphasis will be on the acquisition of facts in order to pass an exam and achieve a specified level of standards. But in the money world, personal development skills, emotional intelligence, resilience, adaptability become much more than rote knowledge. The rich understand the importance of individual growth to thrive in such a dynamic world and spend loads on personal development. They seek mentors, make great efforts to read widely, and expose themselves to new experiences that stretch their understanding and improve their abilities. They also cultivate a mentality of continuous adjustment. Unlike the conventional school, whose curriculum is fixed and linear, the ability to succeed outside of school demands flexibility. The rich thrive from remaining curious, from noticing trends, and from changing course when need be. They realize market conditions, technologies, and industries change, and they adjust with these changes. This flexibility gives them opportunities others can't see or are willing to avoid for the comfort of the status quo. At its heart, it is all about empowerment to take charge of one's own time, finances, and future. It's a rejection of the passivity bred by an education trap, and instead an embrace of active participation in the making of one's destiny. Such empowerment breeds a sense of agency which itself gets translated into every dimension of life, making a person live intentionally and with purpose rather than just merely going through motions. In the process, they redefine what security means. For the rich, security no longer means a steady paycheck, but having skills, knowledge, and assets that will take them through any storm. The difference is that they understand security emanates from within, that the sense of security lies in confidence in the person's ability to adapt and thrive with change. They become creators of opportunity rather than seekers of stability, since they understand the truth of freedom through their ability to command life according to their terms. The education trap keeps the individual focused on external sources of validation and success and security. Once that trap is transcended, it reveals that wealth is more an internal state than an external one. It is about the abundance mindset where limitations yield to possibilities, and scarcity thinking gives way to the belief that success is not a zero-sum game. They understand that wealth grows when shared, value multiplies if it affects others, and success is enhanced if it lifts others up. As they walk down that road, however, they learn that wealth is not a destination, but a journey to get to the destination to one's complete actualization. It is not the destination, but a means to the fulfillment of bringing out contribution, creativity, and personal freedom. It is the ability to invest in meaningful projects, pursue passions, and have choices that reflect values rather than financial lack. This would be the final liberation from the education trap, a shift in mentality from scarcity to an abundance mentality, a place where one can view building wealth as a journey to becoming the best he or she can be, that version capable of making a difference in others' lives, adding value, and leaving behind a legacy. They realize they are part of a larger system, how their success could give opportunity to someone else, how knowledge inspires and educates, how influence do make a difference in positive change. True wealth is a combination of financial freedom, meaningful relationships, personal fulfillment, and the ability to make a difference. Finally, the education trap is more mentality than a social product. The strength of pulling out from it requires bold vision and the will to be an outsider. This defines new wealth not in terms of material gains, but its state of being one that converges financial independence, self-enlargement, and purposeful living. To a person who takes the path, wealth is a journey, a pursuit, or mastering something. And it's a way to design a life that is rich in material resources, but also full of meaning, impact, and joy. The path to wealth and true freedom is essentially a journey into self-discovery and mastery. High achievers realize that money is more of an expression of who they are and what they bring to the world. In this light, financial success is a byproduct of authenticity, resilience, and purpose-driven action. They know that to create lasting wealth, they have to first create value. But the value comes from a very deep understanding of their unique strengths and passions, and, above all, of how they can add to something bigger than themselves. This is self-discovery, the process of which is diametrically opposite to the traditional method of education, which promises a straight-line progression. School treats each student like a blank slate to be molded according to some predefined roles, while this journey towards financial independence celebrates differences and individuality. Wealth builders learn to identify their strengths and lean into their passions, where they realize that the best and most meaningful work comes from understanding how to work in coordination with what they are naturally drawn towards doing. They know that their unique perspectives, skills, and interests make them different in a world that is sometimes rewarding innovation and creativity at the expense of conformity. As they make their own way, they also learn something important: mental toughness. A person is unlikely to have amassed great wealth without having encountered multiple setbacks, unexpected challenges, and even outright failure. People who manage to break the trap of education come to perceive such roadblocks as necessary steps toward success rather than as stoppers. They develop resilience so they can weather out storms, pivot when things do not make sense any longer, and learn to be better each time. And this is their strong suit, to keep carrying on even if the track ahead is obscure. Not often enough is emotional intelligence brought into play in a wealth-building exercise. Traditional education focuses too much on IQ and technical skills, while the rich know that there is the same or even more important emotional intelligence, self-awareness, empathy, and interpersonal competence. Building wealth typically requires collaboration, negotiation, and the ability to read and respond to people's needs and motivations. They build better networks, negotiate better deals, and create lasting relationships that open the doors for new opportunities. They see wealth not just as individual achievement, but as something relational. The network, the reputation, and connections all play an important part in their success. Breaking free from the education trap is characterized by a commitment to lifelong learning. While learning in the finite model gets interrupted by a diploma, wealth builders believe that learning is never really stopped because it is self-directed. They are voracious readers, curious explorers who always want to know more. They find time to read and learn in areas most directly relevant to their goals, whether finance, entrepreneurship, psychology, or technology. They realize that the world is constantly evolving and desire to learn, adapt, and lead while doing so. After some time has passed, wealth becomes less of a personal achievement and more about generating value and positively contributing to society. To many individuals achieving financial freedom, it is no longer a matter of how much can I make, but rather how can I give back? True wealth builders know that their success affords them the opportunity to make all the difference in the right way. Some may mentor others, create foundations, or invest in areas where they believe. They know that to touch other people's lives, to leave legacies, or to uplift others is the richest form of wealth. This sense of purpose gives deeper meaning to the financial accomplishments and turns wealth from a symbol of personal success to a tool for collective good. This view of wealth as a tool for impact is not merely altruistic, but also practical. Most successful individuals come to realize that sustainable wealth is first produced when they focus on long-term value, be it in business, investments, or relationships. They realize that short-term gains often prove transitory and hardly sustainable. Instead, by focusing on creating value for others, they create a true source of lasting wealth, backed by trust, goodwill, and a true desire to contribute to the well-being of others. The other key to breaking out of the education trap is to redefine the very concept of success itself. Real prosperity on the way to those who know success is individual definition. They let neither the world put them into a box of expectation. Success is not about money or titles or material possessions, but satisfaction, balance, and enjoyment. They build lives that reflect their own vision and aspirations and values. For some, it is money. For others, it's a passport, creativity opportunities, or time with friends and family. They regard it as the vehicle for living rather than the end. This authentic success also brings autonomy from comparison. The trap of education often creates a frame of mind for competition and comparison by encouraging individuals to grow with this assessment. The real wealth, however, those who come to financial independence know lies in individual fulfillment rather than comparison. Intrinsically motivated, people are led by their personal growth rather than the need to outdo someone. In this regard, they get out of the pressure of continuous striving to fit into the expectations of other people and can thus lead lives of true contentment and peace. Perhaps the ultimate and deepest revelation of those people escaping the education trap is that money is a mindset. It is both a state of mind and reality in itself. They know that the start to real wealth is an abundance mentality, understanding that there are plenty of opportunities out there, and that success can really be obtained. It is mindset that makes all the difference in life. It influences how people think, act, and treat people. They finally realize that, in the real sense of the term, wealth is not only the money, but rather living based on one's principles, embracing possibility, and creating life with meaning and purpose. Lastly, breaking out of this education trap is an escape not only from the straitjacket of financial constraints, but also from mental, emotional, and social constraints. It's a journey towards self-empowerment, self-expression, and eventually self-fulfillment. For the traveler, The true value of wealth involves so much more than material possessions because those people can live freely as they choose, pursue their passions, and make a better difference in the world. It's a journey that transforms not only their financial reality, but their very way of being, allowing them to build a life that is rich in every sense of the word.